Hey, happy Sunday. Today we're going to talk about, my journey for the past weeks. As you know, I've been streaming now for regularly for a couple of weeks, not a couple of weeks, 4 weeks maybe. And since I moved here to the US, I've come to realize that my mind game isn't what it's supposed to be, what I thought it'd be, what I want it to be. So my journey, my current vision is to just reach a state where I'm fearless, I'm confident, and I don't carry around tons of worry and anxiety, which which truly has been the case lately, and it's something I've been neglecting. I've always, when I talk to psychologists and people like that, they ask me, "Are you depressed or are you suicidal?" and all that. I've always said no, I'm great at dealing with anxiety, so I don't really feel depressed and all that. But that the since I got here, I had to come to terms with that. I have a lot of anxiety that is kind of crippling, and it's something that, well, it shouldn't be there. Shouldn't is an interesting word, but it's something I don't want to have as big of a presence as it has. Let's put it that way. And yeah, I've started this like intensified focus on the personal development, focus again to start facing fears again, because that was the first realization when I got here, that yeah, there's a lot of anxiety with the social situations I'm put in here, new work, new environment, everything new house today, moved into another house. So I just started putting the layer of awareness into my daily practice, just living in a very mindful and awarenessful state. And that's what I've been doing for these last weeks. I've been here for 2 months now, and it's every day that goes by, and I just take in what's happening up here and what's happening in my life, just living life and doing stuff. I realized that, damn, there's a lot of anxiety going on. And so I started, as I said, with the focus of finding fear facing actions, like something is, my spider sense is going off for something that I need to do, but it scares me, but I'm seeking out this moment because I know it's what I have to do. Seeking out the fear, going, doing the action that takes me in the direction I want to go. That has been my focus. But since I've been practicing so much awareness here, I realized that yes, that's a big thing. But what's an even bigger issue for me, and I'm sharing this because I'm on a path here to reach this the state of just feeling great, living the kind of life I want to live without all this shit. Shit will always be there. But I will come to realize that my mind is so cluttered by anxiety and worry that comes in all kinds of situations, and mostly related to social situations. And that's just not the way. Well, let's put it this way. I've been listening a lot. A big what would you say, a big part of improving in this area, taking actions and dealing with anxiety, has been to educate myself, to read up on what's happening. And every morning now, I just put on an audiobook or a, an interview with some knowledgeable people concerning this area. I can't remember where I heard it, but it was some famous old guy that he said that, we live most of our lives worrying about things that never happens. And I mean, that's nothing new. It's probably heard it hundreds of times, but hearing that now in the state where I'm at right now, like realizing how much anxiety and social fears are crippling my life, I really put it up there. It's like, okay, Alex, we have two options here. We can live our life like we're living it now, and perhaps spend, I roughly say, like 20% of my waking time is is going towards like living with a sense of a gray cloud, maybe or even 30%, about filled with anxiety, worry. Every time, as soon as I've written a person, texted a person, feel good and confident about sending it, and then like 1 minute passes. If I haven't gotten a reply within that minute, oh boy, the worst case scenarios start popping up. Oh, why did I say that? What are they thinking? Oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Oh, they're gonna do that and this, and it's just there. It comes all the time, and so the idea to I have the power within to choose if I want to continue live that life. I'm standing here. I got two paths ahead of me, and I can go the usual path where my 20-30% of the next years to come will be spent worrying about things that will never happen. And it hit me. I mean, I live on a super healthy quest, been doing so for so long now, trying to live as long as possible. Yet here I am, wasting away my good years. Every years are good years. Wasting away a lot of time about worrying about things that will never ever take place. I mean, it's like putting fuel on money and just burning it up, wasting so much time just crippled by anxiety, worrying about things that will never happen. It doesn't make sense. Well, it kind of makes sense from a biological, evolutionary perspective, because it's ingrained within us to survive, and we want to be part of a social group. Hence, it is built in within us, different state for different people to different extent. But it's a survival mechanism to feel worried, to not be excluded, and all that. But I'm at a point where I'm so motivated to find this path where I'm living a life where I don't waste so much of my time on something that will never ever happen. And that's why I'm here, standing here talking to you. I want to share that journey with you egoistically. I don't know. I mean, I just find a lot of meaning in sharing these moments, and that doesn't matter. So my point is, I'm on this journey and I'm finding ways that works for me, and maybe it will work for you too. So previously, I've only more or less been talking about having my awareness spider sense on and seeking out these fear-facing actions where I can take action. This week, I've extended it because I realized, well, the kind of thing that triggers that sense is basically anxiety. It's when I feel there's a fear-facing action I could take. It's triggered by anxiety, that thing that I can feel and I'm reacting to. But I've also come to realize that, well, most of these times it's not exactly a fear-facing action that is required. A lot of these times it's anxiety triggered by a worst-case scenario, or a crippling thought about something social or something I did, and me just being in a worrisome state. Worry Alex thoughts, I call this. VP for Worry Alex. Worry VA. Never mind. And it's this is equally important. I mean, if I'm walking around living with anxiety all the time, I still won't have a great life. It doesn't matter how much fears I face. It will feel great when I face my fears, but it will still be tainted by this cloud of anxiety that I'm living in. So addressing this is equally important as being a good action taker, doing what scares us. So that's been my evolution this week. My process and my model for how to to play this mental game, how to how to put up a system, habit for how to approach my thoughts and my next line of action, so to say. So what I've done is I've outlined like a questionnaire for myself when something like this happened, and it is a work in progress. This model I've only been kind of following for a week. I mean, I wrote it down now in clarity, but of course my mind when it happens is not always going through exactly this step. But the idea is to have a clear model so I know what to rely on when thoughts, anxiety, worries, or whatever pops up. So it's more of a habit. It's like it shouldn't be emotionally driven. It should be habitually driven by a tested model. So that's where I'm at right now, trying to refine a model that works in how I can basically live my life, so I don't have to live with anxiety to the extent I am now, but also taking action where action is needed. So I thought I'd just go through the model that I come up with so far. And of course, this has to come from us all our efforts to change and do something that's new and requires, well, a whole lot of action and energy, basically. You need to be deeply motivated. It always starts with the why. Why are you doing this? And you have to find that for yourself. Do you want to live the kind of life you're living? By all means. I mean, you can have a great life being alone, but you can have such a awesome life dealing with those fears and anxiety. And I mean, that was probably the main reason why I moved from Sweden. I mean, I had a good life. I thought I was satisfied. I thought everything was nice, but deep within, I knew something. This wasn't how I wanted to live within, and I almost didn't go. I turned down the work offer because, I mean, I got a good job and everything. Yeah, it's comfortable. Man, I shouldn't do it. I mean, the terms in the contract, it's kind of so. I mean, American. Anyways, I tried to get out of coming here because it scared the shit out of me. But coming here, putting myself in a new context, I realized it was exactly what I needed. And I've started to feel that sense of, yeah, this is how I want to live. And I'm so deeply motivated right now to find my right path. And you need to have that deep why, your deep drive, your clarity, your vision, call it whatever. You need to be grounded in why you're willing to put in the energy to change, because you're going to need that change. But that's also why we want to make it a habit. So because we always will have our weak moments, but if it's an ingrained habit, we can always lean back and trust the process. It's like when I wake up in the morning, I start doing a workout instantly. Sure, I mean, now it's just so habitualized that I do it I don't even question it. That's the kind of state we want to reach. So not going to go on talking forever here. Let's just go through my model as it is now and do what you want with it. This is me sharing what is working better, as you say. This is working way better than what I didn't do before. And so it's a work in progress, but it's what I'm doing currently. And I find I mean, just a month back compared to now, it's really working. So I call it the DIF model, work in progress. Disturbance in the field. DEF, disturbance in the field. What do I mean by that? Well, it's literally, it's Star Wars. The Force. It's a force you can feel. You can't not feel this field of whether it's anxiety or a fear-facing action that can be taken. Once you start to pay attention, once you start being aware And that's what I've been doing for the past 4 weeks now. You become better and better at this. You can't not feel this disturbance in the field. It's like waves just messing. Something is vibrating within you when you feel this. I used to only attribute this to fear-facing action incoming. But as I said, I've also now included anxiety overall, because basically it's the same kind of feeling. Both are triggering anxiety, and what we want to do is to define it and label it. But so first, we have the disturbance in the field model, and we feel something. What is it? What is it? We want to put a name on it, label it, name it, call it whatever. First off, something is happening. We feel the disturbance in the field. Label it, name it. And for instance, we can take a regular example now. When, as I said, as soon as I write someone or text someone, email someone, if I feel good about it, when I send it, I ask myself, should I send it? Yeah, you can send it. It's nice. Click. And then a couple of minutes go by, and like clockwork, my worst case scenario, my worry Alex, it's good if you actually physically visualize your worrisome self. This is worry Alex, and he's a worrisome son of a bitch. I was going to say, but I'm not going to say it. He worries about everything, and I mean everything. He worst case scenario, paint the picture that's not a nice picture to look at, but he's there and he's doing it. So first off, what? Define it. Okay, I just wrote a text, and I was just thinking if I'm going to exemplify it even further. I just wrote a text, and I'm not getting any reply. My worrisome Alex, he's saying, oh man, why did I say that? Oh, they're thinking I'm stupid. Oh, they're gonna do that, and all kinds of crazy shit. He's thinking that. And so my next question is, why am I thinking that? Well, in this case, it's kind of simple. It's just worrisome Alex having, if you read the book, which I've been talking about, No More Mr. Nice Guy, he just derives it back to a lot of different factors, like growing up being a people pleaser because you're growing up in your family trying to seek the validation from your father or your mother or whatever. There's tons of different reasons. You don't really have to go into that, but just know that I answer the question why, because sometimes it has different reasons. And why? Well, in this case, I write someone, I don't get the confirmation back that the person liked what I wrote, and I feel like now they don't like me, and that gives me anxiety, and like, oh, why did I say that, and all that. That comes up, but we want to address that. So we have the what, we have the why, and then objectively look at your thought. I mean, now we're trying to observe what we're thinking here to see if it actually makes sense or not. Sometimes maybe it does. So I'm asking myself, Alex, are you projecting a worst case scenario here? Is this really realistic? Is it perhaps a bit not likely to happen? Ask yourself that question. And then ask yourself, what's actually better? You can put up a best case scenario, just a more likely scenario. And you need to put yourself in an objective, outward looking state. If there was your friend coming to you with this, what would you tell him? Just what we're trying to accomplish here is to distance ourselves from our worrisome self and look at it with non-emotional eyes, so we can take a better handle on the situation, call it that. And then we ask ourselves, again, objectively speaking, what is the next course of action? What can we do here? What would be the ideal situation? And this is when it comes down to, this is the place where we define if this is a fear-facing action that can be taken, or if it's just us have entered a bubble of anxiety, and it's not really something we can do at this state. It's just something that we need to deal with our craziness. We need to deal with worrisome Alex here. So let's take the state of realizing that, yeah, we have a fear-facing action ahead of us. Then we can, objectively speaking, looking at what could be a goal, what could be the goal here, what kind of strategy can we put out to handle this situation? Because as we were speaking about previously, a lot of the times the anxiety, the worry comes from us escaping what we know we have to do. So maybe if there was such a case that I needed to go talk to my boss about something, then that would be to define the plan of how to do that. Okay, the idea is here that I'm feeling a fear, anxiety, or whatever around this thing, where the best solution would be to actually talk it out with my boss. Like last week, I spoke about how my boss put up a recurring meeting agenda, and I started worrying about, okay, they're not happy with my work here. Maybe I'm gonna get fired now. And yeah, worst case scenario, Alex, he just painted that picture. And I went through this process, and I outlined, okay, the next course of act, the next step, the next fear-facing action I can take here is to actually not wait for the meeting, which is in 4 days, but walk by his office casually, look in, and like, hey, I saw you sent out this meeting request. Just wanted to hear out what that was about. And I did that because that was the next fear-facing action. It was a bit of, it was a fear-facing action. I felt anxiety and all that, but I did it, and the outcome was that, yeah, it was not a biggie, just something we needed for my development, and all good. I resolved the anxiety. I was super satisfied with, I took action. I did the right thing. I could worry about this for 4 days. Now I just solved it in a 30-minute session. Great. So that's an example of a fear-facing outcome of this model. On the other hand, if it's like now, when an hour ago I sent a text to a person, felt good about the text, and 2 minutes later, 3 minutes later, I hadn't gotten a response, and I realized, I didn't realize, I just started having a lot of worst case scenario playing out in my head. I had anxiety about, why did I wrote that? That was stupid. I should have not. I mean, that's a bad way of putting it. And maybe now they think like that. Just again, worrisome Alex doing his thing, painting a worst case scenario, which he always does. And you have to start to look at it humoristically. Like he's that anxious guy. That a lot of people have friends. I have friends in my friends group that just they are that externalized. They are always worrisome, and you always look at them. Like my grandma, she's the most worrisome person in the world, and she always put that out. And I always, when I talk to her, it's almost like I can't help but to laugh at her. I'm not doing that in that sense, but it's like, how could anyone be that worrisome? It's like I can't wrap my head around it. But the only difference is really she's more extreme, but she's just worrying about different things that I'm worrying about, and she's actually putting them out. What I'm doing differently is that I'm having it in my head, and I'm not explicitly spelling it out. It's just worry living in the back of my head all the time. But what I do now is that I'm looking at it in clarity. So as I said, I sent a text, and I started to feel the anxiety coming up, and I listened to the stories, the worst case scenario playing out. What a stupid idea to send that kind of text to da 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 da. And So now I've realized it's not a fear-facing thing here. This is only anxiety and worry, and now we have to have an action plan to resolve that. Maybe we're not gonna resolve it totally, depends. But now we've classified it, and now we can address it for what it is, anxiety. And this is also what is more. This is not just something you can go out and do, and in this sense, a fear-facing action is much easier because it can be quite easy to objectively look at, okay, what could be a great next action here? Okay, go talk to that person. Okay, I'm gonna do that. That's something, it's more graspable. It's easier to define. When we only have a situation here where I can't really do anything, I can't text them again. It's like seeking validation. That's not a good thing. So what we have to come to terms with here is that this is perhaps lunatic thoughts, but maybe also realize that maybe it's not. So we have to come to a state of acceptance where we can live with not knowing. We have to find a place where we can continue to live in a happy state, not crippled by anxiety, and still go on without having an answer, not without having a reply. This is often why I don't reply to people, because as soon as I send something, I know there's a next line of action. The timeline is now on their part, and I have to wait on responses. So instead, a lot of times I just don't respond, because then the next action is on me, and there's not a state of potential worry there in between. And so again, now we have to find a way to deal with this, and this is different for different people. We have to find what works for you, what works for me, and this is something I'm playing around with a whole lot right now for how to deal with it. So right now I'm just going to talk about what works for me and how I'm currently trying to address this. Just have a sip of Gatorade. Okay, so let me walk you through what I've done before this stream, resolving my anxiety regarding the text I'm waiting for. So I'm realizing, okay, I'm having anxiety about the thoughts about what they think of me, depending on what I just texted them. And I take it in. I first acknowledge. Now I'm so, again, grounded in my why. I remind myself, Alex, you're fucking done wasting half of your life in an anxiety-filled state. You know that you have the choice. You know that is just ludicrous wasting of money. I mean, I'm very frugal, and I'm very conscious about how I spend my money and all that. And I'm gonna start being conscious about how I spend my mental real estate, my mind state. I'm not gonna waste my life away worrying about this shit. It's like I'm setting myself up in a state of almost humoristically looking at this, like I'm looking at my grandma talking about her worries about how I will get robbed everywhere, and I can't do that and this because people will hurt me because people are evil and all that. I'm trying to objectively looking at the situation, always talking a bit loud to myself and make a what do you say? Make a laugh out of it. It's not realistic. I also talk out what I'm thinking, the worst case scenario. Like, okay, so I wrote this. Is it honestly, Alex, is it realistic that just because you did that you actually think that they gonna dislike you, they're gonna put you out of their social group. They're not going to want to be with you because of what you said. And also, before I send anything these days, I ask myself, is this message, can you stand by this message? Is this message in line with your values and beliefs? Is this a good message? And if I didn't do that before I sent it, I look at it objectively again. Did I actually said something wrong here? And if all that is good, if it checked the boxes, it's nothing I need to fix because I didn't say anything stupid. It's like, okay, it's all good here from my perspective. Objectively looking at this based on how I value life, what kind of values and beliefs and all that. I think you get the point. If it checked all those boxes and I'm still there feeling worrisome about it, it's like, okay, well, if they turn out not to like what I'm saying here, then what the fuck? Then it's fine, because then we are not people that are aligned. Then I mean, I want to have people in my life that aligns with my values and vision on how to live life. And I mean, I'm taking this to I'm blowing this up now, but I kind of had to do that to come down to earth again, to ground myself with what's actually going on here. So I'm just like playing out the scenario, and I'm seeing how stupid, literally, the kind of thoughts I am having is. So I'm breaking it down, and I can make it. Now, when I've gotten through this state, I've created a whole different relationship to the whole thing. I mean, you may think that this seems like a very big process, and honestly, why you have to do all that. And I mean, depends on how much of anxiety the thing you're dealing with is creating within. And we're all different. I'm just telling you what has been working for me now. But so I can feel myself being in a totally different state, having a different relationship to the whole thing. But even so, when that has happened, it's like it's flickering forth and back like this. Like subconscious thoughts are popping up, like, oh, that's that bullshit. It's still like that. It's coming back, even though on the overall I have a much better vibe to the situation. The thoughts are still like in the back of my head coming back. If I look at my phone, I can still feel a sting in me because I haven't got a reply yet. And it's like, but then no, it's good. Laugh at the situation, Alex. So that is one step in what I'm doing. And my number two is something that other people, it's meditation. It's mindfulness in a shorter kind of state. It's basically me sitting. This week I've started to, when I feel this, sit for like 5 minutes. And it's the whole meditation relationship for people is hard. I find it hard. I've done it in periods, more intense or not. And the biggest thing for me is that I feel so like I'm wasting time. Like I don't have time to sit for even 5 minutes. It just crawls within me. But I had a mental shift yesterday when I was thinking about this, and it's like, okay, so that will take you 5 minutes. May resolve a whole lot of issues. Just trying to we'll talk about that later. But now I had this mind shift, and something popped. Clarity, vision. It's like, okay, I'm wasting 5 minutes here, but I'm actually gaining so much time if I can resolve my anxiety and worry, because that is stealing time from me. If I invest 5 minutes, I get 30 minutes back. If I don't do it, it can take at least 30 minutes from my life, probably even more. So looking at it from that perspective, it's like it's not taking time from me, it's actually giving me time. So that mind shift was a huge change in how I look at the meditation part. It's not taking time from me, it's giving me time. And number two was that I'm so like, I started to sit like this. Hebrews. It's a squat position. So I'm sitting like that in this squat position, and I've just started to find that it's something I want to sit in that position to just be more flexible, and it's something I've been practicing for some time now. But I've just found that to be very not. It's almost a nice position for me now. The thing is, I'm very health aware, and I'm trying to find moments where I can stretch and do positions like that. So now I'm doing a combo here. When I do the meditation, I sit like that. So it's like I want to do that for at least 10 minutes every day anyways. So now I'm combining it with that. So it's like, okay, I'm saving time on the meditation. I'm saving time on the stretching, sitting in the squat position, which I want to do anyways. So now it's like, it's a win-win, triple win if I do 5 minutes of meditation every day. And I'm not saying that's what's going to make it click for you. I'm just sharing what's working for me here. And so try to find ways to motivate yourself to start doing the meditation, because at this stage also, if you haven't done 5 minutes of meditation, and here we haven't even talking about the meditation part, the mind game, but you have to find a way to motivate yourself to start the habit of doing it. You don't have to do anything. I'm just saying, if you want to experience what it could lead to, find ways to make it something that makes you want to do it. And then we can get to the actual practicing of how to meditate. And it's tons of different. I'm not going to go into deep into that because I'm no meditation expert. I'm just saying what I'm doing is that I sit and I close my eyes, and then I do it differently. Sometimes I sit in on a flying carpet up in the clouds with my baby, the little version of Alex when he's like 7 years old. He's sitting next to me, and we're like on a flying carpet, and I visualize like these thoughts coming to me in the clouds, and it's like a bad thought, and it's working around in my head, and sometimes you go on a tangent and you actually start thinking about it. And then I try to bring myself back and like, oh, letting go, and then I visualize the thing flying past us. And then usually it comes back and it goes forth and back. But like often I'm visualize myself in a place alone or with tiny Alex, and I see things come, and I try to let go, and I see them pass, and then it goes like that. But you could do breathing, and a way to lower your heart rate is to do 2 quick breaths in, and then breathe it out for like 6-7 seconds. You have to try and see what works with you. Just listen to different people giving you different examples, but in the end, just sit there and just let the thoughts come and try to let them go. The idea is more you're not going to have an empty mind. That's not going to happen. The idea is more to see what happens and kind of objectively look at them as things that it's not you. It's just clouds of thoughts coming to attack you. That is basically it. That's my current process, and I've been talking about it for 30 minutes, but the idea is to do this in a shift. You don't have to do the meditation. When I'm at work doing this, it's not like I'm sitting down and meditating about it. Then I just do the other process. And it's still a worker process, but I got something. I got a rough model. I got a model. I got something to attack it with. And just the fact that you're looking at it as a process, that it's not emotions everywhere and no structure, but looking at it like clouds of anxiety coming to attack you, but it's a thing that you could dismantle. You want to look at, you don't have to do anything. I'm looking at it like that, and so far it's playing out very well. I'm it's going better and better. I'm liking it better and better here in the States, and it's good. It's freaking good. It's a big adventure. I mean, I started out living in a house by a church with my dear friend Frederick from the. He's a dear friend now. When I got here, I hadn't seen him in 10 years, and before that, I had knew him for. We had studied some together. That wasn't what I was going to talk about, but it's a big adventure, and I'm embracing the adventure by adding personal growth to it, and it's great. It's not easy. It has its moments, but it's exactly what I need. It's the growth I want. It's the growth I need. One last thing I should say is that when we have gone through this process, I'm going back to the model here. If I've done a fear-facing action, I reward myself. It's like, fuck yeah, I did that. Really taking that emotion, feeling in, like almost like you're enjoying a treat. Feel proud. Just ground yourself in that awesome feeling that you did something great. And the same thing for the dealing with anxiety. It's like, okay, I actually took action. I tried to deal with anxiety here. Praise yourself for trying. Praise yourself for going through a process of looking at it as a thing that isn't real. It's something that just is cluttering your mind. And you took action and you did something. You're trying. You're working towards. Trust the process that you're working towards a better self. And ground yourself in that good feeling. And I like to throw in a little actual physical treat, like maybe a fruit or whatever, as a, you feed the doggy something tasty when they did good. And I try to make that connection as well. You get a reward when you do something good. I mean, we're complicated people, we're complicated beings, but in the end, we're kind of basic as well. That was what I wanted to talk about today here from North Carolina Snow Camp, where I'm living currently. And, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you're dealing with and how you're approaching it, and maybe if this is something that could work for you. I don't know. Just want to say thank you, and see you next week. Go crush it, or whatever. No, I meant that. Go fucking crush it. Damn, 43 minutes. Have a lovely Sunday. Bye, guys.